one of the biggest prospects in Australia, MMA and boxing, is Issac Hardman. What's going on, Issac? How is life right now? Are you still under lockdown over there?
No, Brisbane, Queensland's doing pretty well. So living the dream, mate. Back in the gym, never really stopped. So first 4 weeks, I did give up a little bit and throw my hands in the air and say, "Why us?" Because I work for my coach, and he's like a dad to me. So the gym got shut down, and it was like, "Why us?" But we just come to realise everyone's in the same sort of situation, and just had to keep on moving forward. So I slacked off for the first 4 weeks, but he gave me the boot up the arse I needed to get, and back on the horse, and we're back to it. So, I could fight this weekend if I wanted to. If there was a fight, I could make weight, fight this weekend.
Well, there's a lot to talk about, man, because you started off with the MMA and kind of blew up the scene over there in Australia, picking up 2 titles pretty easily, man. You're three titles, right?
Three titles,
yeah, but 3 titles. The ones that are the most recognizable would be the AFC title and the XFC title, if anybody knows about the regional scene. And and then you decided, like, I'm not gonna fight MMA anymore, man. The last fight you had was in 2017. A lot of guys were calling you out at that time, because I remember you fighting. How did you react to that? Because you just
like a lot of people said they'd fight me after I'd made the switch to boxing, or like. So what had happened is I was coming through and I won my titles, and at the time I was a little bit younger and didn't have as much as a voice as I do now. So I wasn't doing the calling out thing. I never once said I was ready for the UFC. I always had said, if it comes, it comes. We'll take it. And then I knocked Rob Hill out and still remained, quiet and didn't call for my shot. And then I went and hurt my knee, so I had a full rupture in my ACL, and then that was that started 2018, just after I had a boxing fight. The start of 2018, the plan was to defend my XFC title, then sign to the UFC straight after. I had Alex Volkanovski's manager in the gym with us at Nitro. He flew in. He had to see someone in Byron Bay, and he come and dropped in and said, "Mate, listen, get this fight done. Don't talk to anyone else. We get you there." That's Alex Volkanovski's manager. So and then I hurt my knee, and that's when everyone said they'd fight me. But beforehand, I had to have a boxing fight because no one would fight me in MMA. So at 70 kilos, so I went and done the boxing fight, hurt my knee, and just sort of reevaluated things. Realised, the UFC isn't the be all and end all. In actual fact, they don't get paid the way they deserve to be, and that's been, coming out in the media as of late. And for what you go through, like doing your MMA training and getting smashed with 4-ounce gloves on, and how ruthless the UFC is. Like, yes, it is one of probably the most popular combat sport in the world. Everyone knows what the UFC is. It's like, it's like Kmart. Everyone knows what Kmart is. Everyone knows what UFC is. So, everyone wants to be in it, but it's so ruthless and cutthroat. You get in and have one bad performance, they'll kick you to the curb. Doesn't matter who you are. Like, they want the next star right away. And I just come to realize I had a bit of time off. I'd been doing, fighting and staying fit and on a diet since I was just after I turned 18. So I didn't get to go out and do anything. And at the time I ruptured my ACL, I was 23 or something. So I just sort of reset some goals and come to realize, if I want to do the MMA and the UFC, it'll come down the track. And the plan was still coming back after injury was have one boxing fight and get the nerves out. And I happened to get a late call-up fight on a big pay-per-view card here in Australia, Paul Gallen versus John Hyon. And I jumped on that card and ended up knocking the prospect out in the first 40 seconds at 2 divisions above what I normally fight at. And one of the big-time promoters here in Australia, Dean Lonigan, I didn't know him at the time. I didn't know any of them at the time. The first 3 boxing fights were meant to be stitch-ups. I took them all on, within a 5-day notice, and I was meant to lose. I was just this MMA guy. The boxers don't respect MMA guys because, to be honest, most MMA guys can't box nicely. You throw an MMA guy in with a boxer. We've seen it all on, YouTube. Vasily Lomachenko and TJ Dillashaw, he got his ass handed to him. So that's, I think, what they were expecting. And I knocked out the first 3 boxers. So, all that, long story short, I got on this card and performed really well. And Dean Lonigan reached out to me. And, that's Jeff Horn's promoter. He's a man that got Manny Pacquiao here to Australia. he promoted, Joseph Parker to his world title fight with Anthony Joshua. So he approached me and Blair, and we had a couple of sit-down meetings and presented me this contract that for the next, however long, all my fights will be on pay-per-view, Foxtel here in Australia. He's got the ABS Australian Boxing Series here, and he's got a 3-year deal with Foxtel where he has to run at least 10 shows a year that get aired live to an Australian audience, and then 3 pay-per-view slots a year on main event. So, and it's like more of a career choice for me. I love fighting, but fuck, like everyone says, you got to get paid. You can't do it for free. It's not the sport you want to do for free. So I want to get paid. I want to have a good life. I want to make good money. That's what it is about. Like, I like nice things now. I come from nothing, and saying that I never went without, though. And, I just want to make some fucking good coin and do something I really love. And I love the contest as well. So whether it be MMA or boxing, but for now and for the next, 5 to 6 years, I'm going to win that world title in boxing. And then if I do want to go over to MMA down the track, the way I look at it is picture, say, Canelo Alvarez, one of the biggest names in boxing. Before he got into boxing, had an MMA career and a legit 3 regional titles, and then says, I want to fight in the UFC. He gets to step straight over there, massive amounts of money, 2 sports coming together, sort of like the reverse of what Conor McGregor did, but actually having a legit boxer coming over and being able to punch on in 4-ounce gloves, be able to wrestle, submit, and all that sort of stuff. It'd be awesome. So if I want to do that, that's down the track, but for now, it's boxing.
Yeah, I spoke with Rashad Mahdi a few months back, and it's kind of similar to your story. He was offered a contract. There was rumors that you got offered a contract from the UFC 3 times, and you passed it up.
Like, I've got the emails for, like, they approached my coach, Sean Shelby. So one in Adelaide, Perth, and then just recently started the year in Auckland. So and that's, that was after 2 years of being out of the sport, and they still wanted to sign me. So when it comes and my profile gets bigger, the ball will be in more my court. Sort of like the way Israel Adesanya did, I guess. He had been asked and asked and asked, and then when he decided to make the jump over, he's a fucking superstar now. So, and he runs his own show. So that's the way I don't want to be just a piece of the puzzle. I'm the puzzle. I want to be the one that's calling the shots, and that's the way it is. And that's the way the boxers get to do it a little bit more. They get to decide when they fight, where and for how much. Whereas in the UFC, because it's so dense and populated, if you don't take the fight for that amount of money, they just go, well, see you later, we'll get the next guy, because there's a line out the door and around the corner to sign to the UFC. And I think just some of these young cats are a little bit naive, and if they're in the UFC, they're going to get paid millions, but it's not that way. It's, I got paid more in my first contracted boxing fight in Australia than I did, then I got offered to the entry-level UFC purse, so, it's not the be-all and end-all.
Exactly. If it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah, 100%.
All right, now, when you got those offers, did people around you tell you you're crazy for passing it up, or were they very supportive?
No, like, the people that, like, matter supported my decision, and, like, the people that, I have I'm a PT, like a boxing coach, personal trainer and stuff like that, and that would come up in conversation. They go, man, you could be in the UFC, but they're just the general public. So they would say often, man, you should fight in the UFC. But the people that know, like, are in the know, they want what I want. So, and what I want is important, and, they support my decision. So, no, even Adrian Pang, who's my MMA coach, he supported my decision 100%. And, it would be great for his business and his gym to have another, he's had a lot of guys come through the UFC. Cole, no, Damian Brown's no longer part of the team, but he was in the UFC. He got his shot when he was under Adrian Payne, and when he got out, he lost his fight. So, stuff like that, it would be cool for his business, and he could have pressured me into making that decision for his own benefit, but he didn't. He supported me 100%, and that's what counts. So I got the right people around me that support my decision and back me 100%. And what's best for me, not what's best for them at the time.
Yeah, shout out to Adrian Pang, man, one of the toughest guys out there in Australia.
Yeah, 100%. Still going strong at 42 or something like that.
Yeah. Now let's move on to the boxing. I mean, that's what you're focused on. You're 6-0, 5 knockouts. You're training over at Nitro Boxing Fitness Center with Blair Studley.
Studley.
That's right,
Yep.
right? You know,
Yep.
talk
Yeah,
about
yeah.
working with him over the past few years and developing your game.
Yeah, Blair. I come on with Blair after I lost to Jamie Malaki. I was on a TV show and I had to fight him. I was amateur at the time. Hadn't done any strength and conditioning, and I went and started working for Blair. And since then, I've been with him coming up 5 years now. And you know, I lost my dad to cancer, and Blair, since the day dot, he has been that role model for me and that sort of figure and my mentor. And he pulls me up when I need to be pulled up. He lets me know what needs to be, like what I need to hear. He doesn't sugarcoat anything. He's a straightest shooter around, and he's so versatile in the way he teaches things. And because I think he's not like a perfectionist boxing coach, like he trains Adrian, he does like kickbox. He's got a whole heap of kickboxing clients. He's kickboxing himself, so he is like we have different concepts and stuff like that. So which I like too, and which some boxers don't like. They won't agree with some of the stuff we do and the way we do it. But that's why I've been successful, because I'm different. And Blair's been amazing. He is hands down. If he wasn't to be my coach, I wouldn't box anymore. Like that's how much that man means to me. It's an incredible relationship, and you know I get emotional talking about Blair. He's a weapon, and he's something else. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned him as someone that, you know, you couldn't imagine yourself without. And in the news recently in Australia, there's a famous trainer named Dundee Kim.
Yeah, Glenn Rushton and Yeah, I don't like. We have talked about this, which is just, I don't know where Dundee Kim got his famous name from within the boxing scene. Like, I don't know where what he does, or we're dumbfounded by where he got that recognition on stuff like that. I don't know if he comes from a different background and moved over. I'm not too sure, but what he had done with Jeff Horn, and yeah, that's just a bad act. I reckon that's a bad move. I think that'll come back and bite him in the ass for sure, 100%. You know, he lifted Jeff Horn up when he beat Pacquiao at Suncorp however long ago that was. That's a pretty significant thing to do. I think it's not right. I don't reckon.
Oh, definitely. It's a pretty wild story, man. In the boxing
crazy
community,
to have his next opponent there and like teaching and showing him the ins and outs of what he knows about Jeff for the last 6 years. It's pretty shit go, I reckon. But
yeah,
anyway,
they're calling him an informant.
If you want 20 seconds of fame, and that's what you want to do for it, so be it. He's his own man, and he wanted to make that decision, but see what happens after.
You know, that's one of the biggest fights coming up in Australia, Jeff Horn versus Tszyu. Like, what do you think about that fight? You know, who do you give the edge to in that one?
I've done a lot of rounds with Jeff Horn. I've done a lot of rounds with him getting ready for. I was on he's undercard against the first Rafa, and then I went back for my next fight as well. And he's, you know, our next dates were pretty close. So I've done a lot of rounds with Jeff Horn, and you know, sparring. I had a lot of success in sparring, and so did he. Like, and that's the thing. Sparring is sparring, and there's guys that don't, you know, really spar well, and then they turn it on the night. So Jeff is a complete weapon. Like, he's a night. I couldn't say a bad thing about Jeff Horn. He's a fantastic bloke. I don't know too much about his coach. I haven't had many interactions with him, but Jeff as a person, great guy. And I just had been invited by Tszyu. His manager Glenn Jennings asked me to come down before this COVID to do some rounds down there with Tim, and we couldn't get away at the drop of a hat, me and Blair, because we'd both have to go with the gym and stuff like that. So we tried to organise a couple of weeks in advance, and then COVID happened. So I'm sure he'll want to do rounds in the future. I'd love to do the rounds with Tim, but I just think Tim's young, hungry. I'm saying it's Jeff's last big fight. You know, if he gets up, he'd probably go on to, you know, try to fight for another world title, but it's a young man's sport, and I think, you know, Tim's hungrier. It's sort of like Jeff when he was fighting Pacquiao. Jeff was so hungry. Pacquiao was a little bit seasoned, probably wasn't as motivated. But then again, they're saying Jeff is refreshed and stuff like that. So you never know. And last time I backed against Jeff, against the second Zarafa, he got up. So, you know, I don't know. I'm not saying anything this time, but I think it'll be a great fight.
Is there any possibility that you could be on that card coming up?
Yeah, 100% I'm on the card. Like, they wanted me on the one when they got it done for April, but Blair was going to be away for his wife's birthday, so we decided not to fight because I wouldn't fight without him there. But my matchmaker is all their matchmakers. So they were just ringing us yesterday saying a projected date. So I'll be on that undercard for sure. I was meant to be for an Australian title against a certain guy, but he had broken his collarbone, something like that. That's how the story goes. Everyone gets injured when they got to sign a contract, but hopefully it's true. I don't know. But I'll be on that card for sure, and I think that's the most important fight coming back for boxing. I know a few local people are running some local fight nights with a couple of people on the cards and stuff like that, but I think Bob Aaron was talking about picking that fight up on ESPN over in the States. So, it'll be a massive platform to be on. I'll be on that card for sure. I don't know how far down because there'll be a few of the DNL guys on it. I'm saying like Jai Opataya, Brock Jarvis probably try to be on it. Leon Wilson's another weapon as well. So there's a stable of 5 of us for the signed to DNL. Hopefully he just stacks that card with all us and then gets some opponents. And the other thing too, I think it'll be all Aussies versus Aussie or Aussie versus New Zealand because they can't get internationals in. So we'll have to fight clean out our own backyard, which I like as well. So you can't go on to bigger and better things if you haven't beaten the guys here in your own backyard. And that's how Adrian brought me up in the fight scene in MMA, and that's how we're going to do it in boxing as well.
It looks like you're on your way to kind of creating this reputation like you did in MMA in boxing to where no one's going to want to fight you. It seems like right now it's going to be difficult for you to get an opponent.
Yeah, it has been.
Yeah. Oh, it has been. So, like, how many guys have turned you down over the past couple of years?
Yeah, it's been the first 3, they jumped at it because they seen MMA guy and they're like, we'll smack his head in. But I turned that around real quick. Got all those were first round, first minute finishes. So, but it has been really hard for my matchmaker to lock in an opponent. And I think at the moment, like, because I haven't had I haven't had an amateur boxing fight, so I haven't done my apprenticeship in boxing, but, amateur boxing and professional boxing are 2 different sports. But I have been fighting for a long time. I have been fighting professionally for quite a long time. I've had, 15 professional fights all up. Plus, I've had, I've fought in Thailand, Muay Thai. I've had 3 kickboxing fights here in Brisbane. I've done amateur, like a one-night tough man in boxing. I've had amateur MMA fights. So all up, I've had 26, 27-something fights. So I'm experienced on the big stage, and that's the same with, as a professional MMA fighter, I fought in big crowds. So going over to boxing, only 6 fights in, I'm relatively unknown, and the way up for fighting me is the risk doesn't reward very much. I'm only 6 fights in, and if they knock me over, they beat a 6-0 guy. Yeah, taking an O off a guy's cool, but I'm not that much of a reward for these guys that are in front of me. The guys in front of me, they've all had 10, 15 plus fights. So for someone to be 15-1 or 15-3 or 20-2 to fight someone 6-0, and if they beat me, they're a big whoop. You got 4 times the experience as him. If they lose to me, it's like, fuck, there, see you later. Just pack your gloves up, go home. So it's going to be hard in that sense to fight like a big name in boxing, that one I need to sort of really project myself. But now it's probably just going to be, hopefully people around my same experience, but even then, like, those guys probably don't want to take, they're not taking the fight anyway. So there was one locked-in guy, Bo Hardest. That was the one before we all got all locked down, and he agreed to take the fight, which was cool. So, but I think he's injured himself. But yeah, it's frustrating at times, and I've bounced all around weight classes. I'm a 72-kilo fighter, middleweight. That's in boxing. And my first 3 are light heavyweight, then it was super middleweight, and then I got locked in at middleweight, and they had to jump up to, catch weight. I need a fight at middleweight to get ranked there and move myself forward in that division. So any of the top middleweights I'll fight. It's just a matter of if they want to fight me and get it done, which they'll have to if they want to get a paycheck, because we're not fighting any internationals. That's the other thing too. Like, everyone wants to fight an international, an American or a European or whatever, but and I'm not that. But you got to fight now in these circumstances, someone from our own backyard if you want to have a fight. So hopefully we can get something over the line and someone locked in. Definitely.
Well, you got to, take out the line in Australia, New Zealand, and then you move over stateside, Europe, wherever you can get it, right?
100%.
So what is the timeline for you? You know what I mean? Are you just taking it slow, or do you have like a set goals in mind for like a time period, like where you want to be in your career?
I write goals at the start of each year, how many fights I want to have. I'm contracted to have 4 fights a year, which probably won't happen this year. So I'd like to churn them out and get to that world ranking, that 10-0, 15-0, get that world ranking in one of the sanctioning bodies, and then just go from there. Within 3 years, well, I'm 6-0 now. Within 3 years, I want to be up there in the high teens as fights. I'll be 26 then, 27. You know, around that 17-0, you know, sort of mark, and that's when the world rank comes. That's when the big fights come. Within 3 years, I think there's the timeline. But for now, it's a little bit funny with the obvious situation. But 3 years, I'll have something wrapped around me and have a lot of money in the bank, build my house, pay off everything, build Blair a massive new gym, you know, put a level on that. Fucking all the boys at work getting pools in their house, whatever. Everyone is getting what they want when I make it.
No doubt, man. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing your journey, man, continuing your journey and following you. And hopefully, I think a lot of people just like myself would like to see you after you finish your boxing career in MMA, in the UFC.
It'll happen like later down the track, though. So can't open up too many doors yet because people start calling me a pussy, come back here and there. But I can't at the moment. So you're all fucking lucky. But there's a few people I like to chin when I get back. It'll happen. They're not done with me yet. Those 4 ounces to my hands are so much sharper. They thought I was a bad man then. Wait till I get back.